Hello friends, my camera's high, let's fix that. Hello friends and welcome. My name is Popeye and today we're playing some more Steins Gate Zero. Before we get into it, I always like to give the trigger warnings for this game. This game is not for everyone, it has some pretty mature themes. If any of these make you feel uncomfortable, please find somewhere that will make you feel comfortable today. This game deals with themes such as kidnapping, torture, rape, abuse, suicide, murder, gore, any of those things against a minor. If any of those is uncomfortable for you, please find somewhere else you'd rather be for tonight. If you missed any of those, you can look down in the description. I have a list of trigger warnings that are common in most of my games. But yeah, welcome. Last time we had a bit of a longer stream because we were trying to finish off the second bad ending, Recursive Mother Goose, which we did. So the gist of that was eventually people came looking for Kagari, and we were trying to delete Christina's memories from her brain. And yeah, they came, we got a phone call, we decided to not answer it. Kagari instead answers it, and it takes us into this ending where Mayuri sings a song that Kagari recognizes as something her mother sang to her, and that lets everyone in that world line know that Kagari is from the future and Mayuri's her mother. And we go on this wild goose chase of trying to find out who originated this stupid song. And it turns into a paradox where Kagari learned it from Mayuri in the future. Mayuri learned it from Suzuha. Suzuha learned it from Yuki. Yuki learned it from our mom. And our mom learned it from us, and we learned it from Kagari. So there you go. So the ending basically just ends with Kagari and Mayuri trying to live out their lives. And then at the very end, Mayuri decides she's going to go back in time with Suzuha. This is a couple months into the future. They're going to go back in time to convince Okabe to go back and fix the future to prevent World War III. And in the end, Kagari's like, no mom, I'll go, I've done this before. So then it's Kagari and Suzuha go into the past to hopefully make Okabe fix the future. So that was that ending, and we stopped right after that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to load up this save, which takes place at that phone call that we didn't answer right away, except this time we're going to answer it right away, and that's going to trigger the next ending. So let's go ahead and load this data, and immediately answer this phone call from this random number. Can I wait about 3 hours? I mean, could I? Yes. Am I going to? No, because I would like to be in bed by then. You want a phone call juggle, but you don't have enough points. Can I promise you there will be more phone calls? I mean, I'm sure there will be. Can I promise you? I can promise you there will be more phone calls. Looking at the breakdown of different endings, I can guarantee there's at least one other phone call. But alright, we're going to answer this phone call. The phone I pressed against Kagari's head stopped ringing, and in that moment the world changed. We didn't get to see the number on that. We do not know. I answered it. Yeah, that's one thing I find weird about this game, is it's hard to sometimes see what your selection is. I was inside a deep black darkness. There was no sound, no temperature, Just darkness, cold and silence. No one was here. I didn't even know if I was asleep or awake. There was nothing but a vague sense of presence. I love presents. It's like Christmas. Nothingness. Nothingness spreading out to infinity. Exclamation! Ellipses. Huh? What was I doing? Wasn't I...
ちょっと岡部、いつまでもそんなところで寝てると風邪ひくわよ。
I turned towards the voice. Standing there, next to the open curtains of the development room was...
何よ。
なんだ、クリス、いたのか。
Okay. Welcome to the third ending, Promised Rinascimento, which I had to Google what this was. It's an Italian word which means Renaissance, which is a French word which means rebirth. Yes, this is another ending, and I'll explain after this ending, because from what you saw, it's kind of weird. That we have two different endings after that phone call, right? And this is not the good ending yet. This game has an interesting thing. It's kind of a gimmick, and I'll explain once we're done with the ending. I'm not sure if we'll get through it today. It might happen on Wednesday. But yeah, it has an interesting gimmick to it.
そうだったか?
I mean, aren't all games just endings?
そうよ。昨日も一昨日もずっとここにいたわよ。
It did seem that way, come to think of it. My head seemed like it was full of fuzz. Is it logic chess? Because if they stole that from Ace Attorney Investigation to Miles Edgeworth 2. Did I play that one? I don't think I played Edgeworth 2. I think I only played Edgeworth 1. So I don't know what the logic chess is. I wasn't sleepy or tired or anything like that. My mind was very awake. But something was missing. Something important.
そういえば、ダルヤン・マユリはどうした?
And I can't open my phone.
あんた、本当に大丈夫？何か不具合
The
でもあった
first
ん
one
じゃ
was
ない？
solid. It was pretty solid.
どういう意味だ?
橋田もまゆりも。ほら、そこにいるじゃない。
え?
おかりん、てってれー。
What was that weird, like, fade in from Sepia?
僕のこの大きすぎる存在感を見落としてるなんてどうかしてるぜ、オカリン。
See, I can't comment on that because I only played the first one. I found the first one was a good length. Was it as good as the other Ace Attorney games? No. No, but it was solid. My favorite one was the haunted house in the theme park. I thought that was that's the one that stood with me the most. Oh, that's right. Daru and Mayuri were always here, weren't they? No, it wasn't just them. What is going on? I'm convinced we're still asleep.
京馬さん、僕にできることがあったら何でも言ってくださいね。
Okay, so something I've already noticed. Ferris, who has been in her winter clothing this entire game, is now back in her summer gear. Ferris and Lukiko, too. And...
岡部倫太郎のためにその辺の食べられそうな草で私が特別ジュース作ってあげるよ。
That sounds really sketchy. I'll make you a special juice from edible grasses I found.
私も
いるよ。
Moeka's talking? Like, no, this isn't happening. Suzuha and Moeka. All of the lab members were in the lab, like they always were. Hello, Hero, how's it going? That's right, this was my daily life. This was how I spent every day.
ふむ。全員いるようだな。
I mean, this is everyone except for Maho in a picture. And I guess Kagari. And I appreciate the fact that the only face we can't see is Daru's, because no one cares.
では、ただいまより、第65,536回目の円卓会議を行う。お前たち、準備はいいか？
The 65,536th round table. Why are you all still here?
まったく、いつも暑苦しいわね。
お前こそ、いい加減その
Did we buy a vacuum? I swear we didn't always have a vacuum.
だから、私はあんたの助手になった覚えはないと言ったろうが。
He's not doing a good job.
オカリンとクリスちゃんはいつも仲良しだね。
イチャイチャしやがって。リア充爆発しろ。
ちょっと橋田、私がいつこいつとイチャイチャしたって言うのよ。
仲がいいほど喧嘩するって言うにゃ。羨ましいです。漆原ルカも一緒にイチャイチャすればいいじゃん。
You just want to ask if we wanted to play Phasmo.
ダメです。僕にはそんなことできません。
イチャイチャ。
ねえ、お前たち、いつまで無駄話をしている？さっさと会議を始めるぞ。
ね、今日の議題は何なんだ？
I mean, if you want to, Sam says, I can mod by myself, that's fine. It's up to you.
そんなものは決まっている。今日の議題は
What?
議題は
岡部？
Something was wrong.
オカリン？
Oh, now we're all fading into sepia. Everything seemed the same, but...
どうしたん？オカリン。
I still can't open my phone, by the way. That's right, it was cold.
京馬？
I didn't feel it.
京馬さん。
No emotions.
岡部倫太郎？
No warmth.
岡部くん。
Everyone was here. But it was cold and dark. Cold. Cold. Oh no, it's the... I failed! No! What? I'll try and read all of these colds without biting my tongue. Cold, 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 cold. Cold, 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 cold.
岡部倫太郎。
Is cold even a word? How can words be real if letters aren't?
京馬さん。京馬。
All the blood in my body had been replaced with mercury.
オカリン。
It was cold. Felt like I was gonna freeze at any moment. What was this? Where was this place? Where was I?
岡部。
Your first job is to tell Chaos he's fired. What number are we? Okay. We're still in the world line where Mayuri lives and Christina dies because we're above 1. And actually, 1.05 is pretty close to most of the others. We've fluctuated between 1.05 and 1.08 approximately. Where was I? What was I doing? I tried to speak, but the words didn't come out. It looked like I was lying on a bed, a very hard one at that. I slowly looked around. It wasn't the lab, and it wasn't my room. The room was old and gloomy. Of course, I'd never seen it before. I still can't access my cell phone. What was I doing here? I'm bleeding out, apparently. There was a terrible pain in my head, like someone had jammed an electrode into my brain. I tried to raise my hand as I lay there, but it was too heavy. It was like all the joints in my body had frozen. It took all my strength to slowly sit up. Each time I moved a little, my muscles screamed and pain ran through my whole body. After several minutes, I finally succeeded in sitting on the edge of the bed and looking down. I realized I was wearing a white gown, like hospital patients wear. This is good atmospheric music. There was some kind of equipment on my head, and the cables coming out of it were connected to a strange machine. What had happened to me? Just a moment ago I was... Is it Mozart? No, it's not Mozart. It's got kind of like a... resounding gong in space kind of feel, if that makes sense. That's right, Kagari. Chrissy's memories have been downloaded into Kagari's head. We tried to erase them by overwriting them with Kagari's own memories, and then... That's right, I remembered now. World line had shifted right after that. What had happened then? I tried to remember, but it was like my mind was filled with fog. For now, I need to figure out where I was. I took off the headgear and got out of bed. And collapsed. This didn't make sense. Was I just dizzy after all that was going on in my head? Chaos, yeah, apparently... Yes, apparently Hero has hired Samus's to fire you. There you go. I tried to stand up again. And I couldn't get any strength in my legs. I kept standing up and falling over. In the end, I was only able to get up by grabbing the side of the bed. How could standing on my own 2 feet be so exhausting? Was I sick with some terrible disease? And maybe I'd been in bed for several days? I somehow managed to drag my weak legs to the door. It was bizarrely heavy. Maybe it just seemed that way to me. Okay, we're now playing Phasmo. This is the basement of Asylum. Welcome, everyone. It only opened after I put my full weight on it. The door was locked, but it seemed to be the kind that could be opened from the inside. I walked down the dark hallway, leaning up against the wall for support. At the end of the hall were stairs. I clung to the railing and slowly walked up them. At the end of the stairs, I found a hatch. Using the full strength of my back, I was just barely able to get it open. I was inside an old building. I walked down the crumbling hallway, still clueless as to what was going on, and finally found the door to the outside. You did high school today? The worst of all maps. Exhausted, I staggered outside, and I saw... What did we do? Mountains of shattered rubble.
これ
Rows of destroyed, abandoned buildings. Exposed, twisted steel girders. At first, I thought it was a movie set. It was all far too realistic for that. The walls, the windows, the ceilings, everything was destroyed. Little bits of rubble covered the ground. There were cracks in the asphalt on the road, making it impossible to walk straight. And it wasn't just directly in front of me. I spun around a full 360 degrees, saw the same scene everywhere. I smelled oil. I smelled something burning. I looked up to the sky. It was dark and gloomy. Thought it might just be cloudy, but something else seemed to be going on. I could see the hazy outline of the sun beyond the black curtain that covered the sky. Can't wait for this 3-hour ending. A violent pain in my throat made me cough. I quickly covered my mouth with the sleeve of my gown. My eyes stung. I tried once more to calm down to see if I could remember what happened, but I had no luck. All I knew for sure was that there had been a world line shift when I deleted Chrissy's memories from inside Kagari. The memories held by the Amadeus Chrisu. This is the Metal Gear Solid 5 ending. And the memories implanted in Kagari. Maybe when whoever owned them changed, that is, whoever held Chrisu's time machine theory, the world line changed with it. And this was another altered world line, which meant what I was seeing was... I saw what looked like an ash-covered stick poking out of the ground in the corner of my eye. I slowly went to take a closer look. It was sticking out of the rubble, and at the tip it split into 5 smaller branches. It was a hand. It was a human hand that had been scorched pitch black. Sure, it can be Shia LaBeouf, because he is roasted and he's just bones now. Terrible feeling came rising out of my stomach. Suddenly, I thought I saw something move. Someone was out there. It's still Shia LaBeouf. Where? I listened carefully to try and pick them out. Run for... We can barely walk. Like our leg was caught in a bear trap or something. The other side of that big building. I could hear some kind of sound from over there. Was someone there? There was. Maybe they could tell me what the hell was going on. Trying my best not to make any sound, I peeked through the walls of the crumbling building. They were there, all right. There were people there. Lots of them. But they weren't people anymore. They were just human-shaped wads of meat. Piled up into a mountain. On top of the mountain was a pack of dogs. Something long and slick was hanging out of the dogs' mouths. Intestines. They were eating them. They were eating the bodies. The stench was horrible. The sound of the flies was overwhelming. It was like something out of hell. My gaze met the vacant eyes of one of the bodies. One of its eyes fell out, and black insects crawled out of the empty socket. I ran away. I ran as fast as I could, stumbling forward on failing legs. Somewhere. Was there somewhere around here that was sane? But no matter how far I went, it was the same thing. Mountains of rubble. Rows of abandoned buildings. All I could see were the dead. There were no living humans. And then I found it. There were rows of huge buildings, which all looked as if they were about to fall over. The roads were full of cracks. There was a warped overpass sticking out of the ground. A few rows of iron and railroad ties. I knew it. I knew this place. It was only a shadow of its former self, but I knew it. This was Akihabara, which meant...
ラボはどうなった？
Where was Mayuri? Where was Daru? Where was Ferris? What about Lukiko or Suzuha? What happened to Maho and Kagari? Just as I ran toward the lab to find out, I heard footsteps behind me. Rough footsteps stomping over the rubble. More than one set. They got louder and louder, and soon I saw them coming toward me from between the crumbling buildings. There were 3 of them. They each had assault rifles in their hands. When they saw me, they all pointed their guns at me. There was so much I wanted to ask them. There were things I wanted to know. The only thought that came to me was that I needed to get away. But even as I tried to turn and run, my body refused to listen. They must have sensed that I was about to flee because one of them yelled. Holes appeared in the concrete at my feet. They'd shot at me. They really shot at me. You've been shot at like 5 times already, dude. This shouldn't be a surprise. They'd shot at me with real guns. If I'd been just a little closer, they would have hit me. No fake guns. I was too scared to stand. The men got closer, still holding the guns. Run. You have to run. It was like my body belonged to someone else. It wasn't listening to me. Men kept getting closer. And then... Shia LaBeouf. Oh, there was another sharp noise. One of the men collapsed to the side. He hit his head on the rubble and stopped moving. The other 2 waved their guns around, clearly confused as to what just happened. Something dragged me to the ground. And then, more gunshots. The 2 of them fell backwards, still holding their weapons, at almost the exact same time. They died. Right in front of me. Someone had died. I could do nothing more than sit there and watch as a silhouette moved in front of me. Only because I can't open my phone and take a picture. I looked up. And the person I saw was... Suzuha.
ほら、いつまでボケっと座っているつもりだ。
お前殺したのか？
何を生っちょろいこと言ってるんだ、お前。
It was a colder voice than I'd ever
お
heard.
前鈴葉だよな。
Her iron mask of an expression suddenly changed to surprise. That was only for a moment. A second later and the fierceness had
お
returned.
前、何者だ？
Did she really
俺
not?
のこと知らないのか？
Did the change in the world line mean that Suzuha and I had never met?
岡部だよ。岡部倫太郎だ。
The expression on her face changed
岡部
again.
凛太郎？そんな、バカな。
Two pairs of icy footsteps sounded in the
こっちだ。
darkness. After I'd given my name, Sousa had stared at me suspiciously for a moment. Then she made some kind of call and told me to come with her. She made me wear a blindfold almost the entire time, though. There's the suspicious. That's 23 suspicious people we've had so far. I had no idea which way I'd gone or where I was. I did as she said. It's the worst secret knock ever. When I heard the knock, I finally realized we were in front of a door. Gosh dang your password, Daru! I hate it. Evidently that was the password. I could only think of one man who chose such a stupid password. I heard the sound of a heavily locked door opening. At last I saw a dimly lit room in the darkness. The room was piled high with what looked like mechanical junk. Rows of instruments lined the walls. A man was sitting in front of them, looking straight at me.
よかった。やっと目を覚ましたんだな、オカリン。
Who was this guy? It's Thin Daru! How did he know my name? He must have been in his mid-40s. He's a big, broad-shouldered man with a stubbly face. There was a sharp but gentle light in his eyes. Felt like I'd seen him somewhere before.
あなたは
やだな、僕のこと忘れたん？そりゃいくらなんでも冷たいぜ、オカリン。
I go back. Have we gone too far? The way he talked and that voice, there's only one person it could be, but that was...
まさかダルか
The man's face broke into a broad smile.
覚えててくれて、てっきり忘れられたのかと思ったのだぜ。
Is it because Daru's face looks like a puppet?
こんなナイスガイ、僕以外にいるわけないじゃん。な、スズハ。
せめてもうちょっと痩せてくれれば認めなくもないけど。
そう言うなって。これでも若い頃に比べれば随分と痩せたんだぜ。
Indeed, the Daru in front of me was quite a bit slimmer than the Daru I knew.
というか父さん、少し言葉遣いおかしくない？
僕も久々にこういう話し方したよ。でも、オカリンはこの方が話しやすいだろうと思ってさ。
I think they're going to explain it in about like 30 seconds here, so I'm going to let them do it. The more pressing issue, though, is his age. He's clearly a middle-aged man. The youngest I could possibly imagine him to be was his early 40s. And then, I saw a shelf in the corner. I saw a man I didn't know reflected in its glass. It was another man like him in his 40s. He was staring at me with a gloomy, sunken face. I slowly raised my right hand, and the man raised his left as if copying me.
ダル一つ教えてくれ。
何でもどうぞ。
今は何年だ。
Daru's smile quickly became something more serious as he answered me.
2036年。
Welcome to the year 2036! Daru gave me all the details.
本当に今は2036年なのか。
そういうこと。
Seemed unbelievable, but Daru's appearance, and more than anything, my own, made it undeniable. I think it's slow because it's trying to match the voice, and he's got the voice of an old man, and he can't really talk very quickly. Yeah, basically, Samus, we went forward in time. 2036. Sousa had said that World War III would start sometime in the next 10 years. 5.7 billion people would die, and the population of Tokyo would drop to a tenth of what it once was. After that, the Third World War itself would end. But the chaos would continue, and even in Japan, no, everywhere around the world, battles would continue. Is that what I'd just seen?
だが、どうして俺はそのことを何も覚えていないんだ。
All my memories were of 2011. I had no memories of the past 25 years. My last memory was of erasing Krisu's memories from Kagari's head.
それに、俺は2025年に死ぬと鈴葉から聞かされていた。どうして生きているんだ。
それは私も聞きたい、父さん。
Sousa had chimed in.
私たちはみんなオカリンおじさんは10年前に死んだって聞かされてきたんだ。
Sousa had leaned over him.
父さん、これはどういうこと？
And he just becomes cousin it.
私たちを騙してたのか？
落ち着け鈴葉、ちゃんと説明するから。
Dura looked at me as if he was remembering old times, then resumed his
オカリ
explanation.
ンは2011年の1月半ばまでの記憶しかないってことで OK？
ああ、2011年の1月に世界線が変動した。
January 15th to be
それ以降のことは
exact.
覚えていない。
I'd gotten 25 years older without realizing it. That fact was starting to eat away at me.
やっぱ体の方に少し問題があるのか、それとも混乱してるのか。今のオカリンの頭の中には2011年の1月末までの記憶がなきゃいけないんだけど。
どうして
So we're missing about 2 weeks worth of memories, approximately.
マホタンがオカリンの記憶をデータとして保存したのが2011年1月末のことだからさ。
Yajo saved my
アマ
memories?
デウスの研究の役に立ちたいから記憶サンプルを取ってくれってオカリンからマホタンに頼んだらしいじゃん。
俺がアマデウスの
Then I realized something
と
incredible.
いうことは、もしかして今の俺の脳の中は。
そう、お察しの通り、今のオカリンの脳内にある記憶はその時の2011年にデータ化された記憶なんだ。
Digitized memories inside my
ちょっ
head?
と待って父さん、話が全く見えない。そもそもどうしてオカリンおじさんが生きてるの？おじさんは2025年に死んだって言ってただろ？
死んだよ、事実上はね。
事実上？
タイムマシン開発競争はその頃がピークだったんだ。各国のいろんな機関がマキセ・クリスが残した論文と彼女の記憶を欲していた。でもその時点でマキセ・クリスの遺産は全部ストラト4の手に渡ってたんだよね。
Strat
た
4.
だ連中をもってしても論文の中身を確かめることはどうしてもできなかった。ロックを解除できなかったんでね。ちなみにそのロックを開発したのは2010年の僕。そこでストラト4はマキセ・クリスをよく知る人物を捕まえて情報を聞き出そうとしたんだ。
それが俺か。
連中はオカリンの記憶からマキセ・クリスについての情報を取り出すために
Ooh, we
あ
got
らゆる手
tortured
を
for
使
like
ったらし
10
い。
years.
僕たちが助け出した時にはオカリンの精神はボロボロだった。まともに生きるための能力さえ失ってた。回復する見込みのない死んだのとほぼ変わらない状態だったんだ。
He's got a heckin' thick neck. Yes, he does.
それじゃあ肉体は生きていたってこと？
そういうこと。これはオカリン自身の入れ知恵でもあった。オカリンは 自分が狙われてることに危機感を覚えてたからね。
Yes, it is wider than his head. And yes, Samus's. He was dead from a certain point of view.
でもせめて私にくらいは教えてくれてもよかったはずだ。
敵を騙すにはまず味方からって言うだろ。
そんな。
Suzuha seemed a little depressed. Must have come as a shock that her dad didn't trust her.
そんな顔するな、鈴葉。このことを知ってたのはワルキューレの中でもごく限られた一部の人間だけだ。
I knew the name Valkyrie. Suzuha had talked about it a lot in 2010. The name of Darwin Suzuha's resistance organization. Really? We have to explain what a smartphone is? Okay, apparently at some point we learned what a smartphone was. We'll do that next. Resistance, an armed group of irregular fighters who oppose a government or the members of that group. The difference between a resistance fighters and terrorists is a very slim one. Smartphone, a term used to describe phones that appeared around the year 2010 and are capable of email scheduling, net browsing, and other advanced capabilities. The introduction of smartphones with advanced touchscreens has caused most analysts to expect the market for these items to undergo explosive growth.
話を続けよう。オカリンは心を破壊されたせいで生きるための能力を失っていた。放っておいたら肉体さえ死んでしまう状態だった。そこで事実を知る一部の人間
No, explaining what a cell phone is most
ここ
important.
とは別の施設でずっと面倒を見てきたんだ。
From 2025 to 2036, 11 years without letting anyone find out. You needed nutrients to keep your body alive. Since I was in bed the whole time, my joints would have gotten stiff, and friction against the bed would have caused my skin to split open. Someone had watched over me the whole time to keep that from
もし
happening.
かしてマユリが
マユシだけじゃない。フェイリスタンやルカシ、それにマホタンもだ。
You ready for older Mayuri, Ferris, Luca, and Maho? They were alive. Mayuri, Ferris, and Lukako. Even in this terrifying world, they were still alive and still looking after me. They had been for years.
誰どうして俺は今になって目を覚ましたんだろうか。
You're scared of what they'll do to best characters 1, 2, and 3? My memories had been digitized in 2011. They'd known those memories existed. They could have downloaded them into me a lot earlier, right?
それは単純な話さ。
This ending might be longer than 3 hours. I don't think we're getting through it tonight. Because when I watched the anime, this is the ending I remember the most, just because it's so different. Because you're going 25 years in the future, and like just the dystopia look, it's just so different. It sticks with you. Yeah, it's a lot of lore to unpack.
つうか、オカリンとマキセ・クリスの記憶データはストラト4がずっと保管してたんだけど。
Did the anime have different endings? So the anime has this ending, and I don't think it had the first ending. I don't think it had... Oh no, it did, because I remember the stupid cleaning episode. Maybe it did have all of them. Wow, maybe it did. I know the first one, I don't think they had all of it. Because I know the rape scene was not in the anime, for sure. It was not there. Maybe they modified that one just to be less less edgy, if that's the right term. I don't... Oh, and it did have the second ending. The one we just did, it had Recursive Mother Goose, and the only way I remember this is because for that episode, or whatever it was, episode or 2 episodes alone, the ending theme changes to the ending song that Mayuri and Kagari sing during the credits. They rehash that for the ending of that arc. Yeah. So I don't think the first one had all the endings. And I'm pretty sure it didn't, but I think Steins Gate 0 has all the endings.
その保管場所がずっとわから
Remind
な
you
か
not
っ
to
た
play.
わけ。
Yeah, these are games and anime the games I guess I haven't fully played through. The anime, it's in the first Steins Gate for sure is in my top 10 anime of all time, but I preface it with saying these are not for everyone. They, like, a lot of my favorite animes and games, I will tell people about them, and I'll preface, like, it's not for everyone. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking about Higurashi, which is another game I've played on stream. And it's kind of similar in that there's arcs with different endings. And there's one of them that revolves basically around an abused child. And it is fantastic. It is well researched. But like that's obviously not for everyone. Yeah, Steins Gate is up there in the psychological category. Isn't Made in Abyss getting a second season coming out next year? I thought I heard something about that.
見つけたのは半月前。どこにあったと思う？驚くぜ。
Where can you watch these awful animes? Well, if you're like me and don't want to pay for a subscription, I use GoGo Anime. That's my go-to. If you have ad blockers and stuff on, choice. You don't get any of the ads. Yeah, Made in Abyss it's a good show. Chaos and I were talking about what was it? World's Strongest was the anime I was watching at the time. And I really liked the first couple of episodes, and then it trailed off, and then I didn't really like the ending. But Made in Abyss was like everything I liked about it, where it's young kids in a situation where it's them against the environment, there's no way out, and it's super dark. They're not afraid of like tearing off limbs and stuff like that. In an electrical outlet. Okay, Samus has his guess. Yeah, I get that. It's not for everyone. And some people don't do it. My fiance, she makes me play all the horror games. She loves horror. She loves horror more than I don't really like horror. I like psychological. She likes just more standard horror. So she'll buy all the horror games and then make me play it so she can watch. So we were currently playing through Franbo is our current one.
どこだ?
An electrical outlet because it will shock you. It sounds like a BuzzFeed article.
東大元暮らし。大学だよ、僕たちの。
まさか東京電機大学か。
その地下に連中の支部があったんだよ。つっても今はほとんど廃墟になってるけどな。
Stratford, a base in the basement of Tokyo Denkai.
で、半月前にオカリンの記憶データをサルベージした僕たちは早速脳にデータをダウンロードした。
But for the next 10 days I hadn't woken up. Just as they were about to give up, I'd finally awoken. After 25 years. 25 years. From... I don't think they didn't say it. My guess from the context there is that they found one of Stratfor's old servers in this basement base, and he was able to get into it and pull the data off and scrub it. I stared at my hands. They were so thin, I could almost see the bone, and I could see veins popping out of them. The face reflected in the glass was unhealthy and wrinkled. My hair was starting to turn white, too.
起きたら25年後だったなんて。とんだ浦島太郎だな。
気持ちの整理がつかないのも無理ないさ。
Hello, Ella. If you don't watch Made in Abyss, which is fine, it's not for everyone. What? There's a famous song, and let me find it, that Made in Abyss does. It's in a made up language, which is always my favorite. I love songs that they make up a language for. Let me see if I can find it. Just listen to it. Don't watch any clips. What's it called? Hanazeve Kardhina. I'm gonna spell that out. Actually, let me just put that in chat because it's made up words in a made up language. Hanazeve Kardhina. There we go. It is not never gonna give you up. Listen to that song. That song is amazing. It just has the atmosphere that a lot of the parts of the game has. It's just fantastic. Of course, it was a shock. But the most shocking thing was that my memories were stored in an electrical outlet.
この記憶は一度データになったものなんだな。
My memories since I was a kid. My memories of that summer. My memories with Krisu. All of them had been transformed into zeros and ones. Could you still say that I was a person? Would I still be called human? What is human? Let's have the game define that for us.
オカリンはあれ何度も経験したはずっしょ。
He was right. But even if I knew it in my head, it still felt strange. I've been cut off from 25 years of time. It had all been forgotten and left behind in a digital world. It felt like it had been stolen from me.
私はやっぱり納得いかない。
そう言うなって鈴葉。
父さんはいい。そうやって世界中を騙していたんだから。
だから仕方なかったんだってば。
Deceived, huh? I'd been deceived too. I'd been told I was fated to die in 2025. Not even in the beta world line that wouldn't change. No matter how it had happened, I was alive right now. Even in the past, I'd been deceived by the future. And it wasn't just me. Suzuha and everyone else. The whole world had been deceived.
世界が騙される。
All of you can see the time machine in the background behind that pillar. Then there was a knock on the outside of the door. There was a visitor, it seemed. Suzuha got close to the door. This password's so dumb. That sounded like it was Mayuri. After hearing the world's most ridiculous password, Suzuha unlocked the door. It opened, and a young girl came in. It's Mayuri in combat gear with, an assault rifle. Because what else? Oh no, it's... Gosh dang it, Kagari.
カガリ、ここには用があるとき以外は来るなと言ってるだろう。
You just let the child, walk outside? It was hard to hear, Samus's. I made a guess. You got a tutoroo for it, though. Does that count for something? Kagari. This child was a young Kagari?
ごめんなさい。でも、ママたちみんな出かけて帰ってこないんだもん。
まあまあ、そう目くじら立てることもないだろう。
また父さんはそうやって甘やかす。こういうことはきちんとしておかなきゃダメなんだ。
The way they interacted hadn't changed in 25 years. I ignored them and looked back at Kagari. And she seemed to notice me too.
こんにちは。
I mean, in this... After World War III and 90% of the world's population died, meeting a new face, 10 years after that, is probably a pretty big deal.
こんにちは。
おじさんは誰？
She called us old.
俺は
ん？
そうだな。君のママの友達だ。
I hesitated for a moment, but decided not to give her my name.
マユリママの？
ああ、そうだ。
Yeah, in the Japanese, she called us, like, old man.
へえ。
ママは優しいか？
I mean, we are in our 40s with white hair, we're wrinkly, we probably look disgusting, because, we probably haven't, like, bathed or done anything in, like, 25 years, except maybe a sponge bath here and there. I'm actually surprised they didn't have, like, a reveal of us looking in the mirror. I think that would have been cool.
ママのこと好きか？
大好き。
そうか。
I could see the love she felt for her mother radiating from her face. Mayuri must have raised her with a lot of love, too. She'd been raised with everything Mayuri could give her. But after this, she was going to go to the past. She'd be all alone in the past, separated from her beloved Mayuri. And then they would catch her and use her as a test subject.
そういえば父さん、マユ姉さんには伝えたのか？おじさんが目覚めたこと。
あ、いかん。すっかり忘れてた。早く教えてやらんと。
Took out what looked like a small wireless
こちら
radio.
バレルタイター。応答せよ。こちらバレルタイター。
こちら、スターダストシェイクハンドです。どうぞ。
There's Mayuri, but over a radio. The voice I heard from the speaker was definitely Mayuri's. Felt a lot calmer than what I was used to, but it was definitely Mayuri. Wait, what was Stardust Handshake?
ああ、かがりちゃん。誰おじさんのところにいるの？うん。おじさんは大事なお仕事があるから、あんまり邪魔しちゃダメだよ。はーい。
そんなことよりまゆし、スペシャルなニュースだ。
What's the point of using code names? We're just not gonna use code names? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
スペシャルなニュース？
ああ、心して聞いてくれ。オカリンが目覚めた。
本当にオカリンが？どうしたの？マユシ。
I mean, like, first of all, I'm assuming this is on, like, a walkie-talkie CV radio, and just, like, anyone can pick up the signal. And they're just like, yeah, the guy with, like, the time travel stuff that everyone wants, he's alive and he's just, like, chilling at her base. Seems like a very bad idea.
オカリンが。もしかして岡部さん、目を覚ましたんですか？本当？オカリン。
They're using a different frequency. I'm sure people in the future are really nice and everyone just gets their own frequency. I heard one voice I knew after another coming from the radio. The voices didn't seem to have changed all that much.
そういうわけで3人ともすぐに戻ってきた方がいい。まゆし、どうした？まゆし。
ダメ。マユシは嬉しさのあまり涙ぐんで声も出ないみたい。
まあ、無理もないよな。オカリンの復活を一番望んでたのはまゆしなんだからさ。
Exactly.
とに
Mayuri.
かく、みんな早く戻った方がいい。
The most they had the budget for was putting in the radio talk, that's it.
わかった。食料受け取ったらすぐに戻るわ。
Everyone else was overjoyed, but I saw that Suzuha's expression was
どう
clouded.
した鈴葉。
なんでマユ姉さんたち食料調達に出ている？今日は予定になかったはずだ。
え？
そんなはずない。確かに今日だって昨日の夜遅くに連絡が。
Someone's intercepted their code.
まずい、それは罠だ。みんなすぐに戻って。
Oh, they're just all dead now. Okay, yep, they're just all dead. Have fun. A scream from the speaker cut her off.
どうした？何があった？
襲撃です。敵襲だ。
くそ。
マイルちゃん、ビリーさん、逃げて。ここ僕。
でもそんなことしたらルカニャンが。
Yeah, you can't break future United Nations rules. Because future United Nations stands for fun. And it's no fun if you break their rules. Susa started running and Daru followed after.
俺も行く。
でもオカリ、その体じゃ。
行かせてくれ。頼む。
If Luca dies, you're never coming back. I can't control that. He hesitated for a moment, but then quickly nodded and offered me his shoulder. It was a little thinner than when he was young, but his shoulder was still gigantic. I put my weight on it as we followed Suzuha. This ending is required. You listened to the song and then you fell down a rabbit hole. Okay, I guess I'm getting into this now. The Steins Gate 0, so... And this might be easier for Samus. So you know the 0 that has like the line through it, almost like the no symbol? Basically, you get to this ending, and then when you save it, you go back to the first save you did, and you can unlock the true ending. So it kind of looks like a 0, and that's why it's Steins Gate 0. If you graph out the endings. So it's not really a spoiler, it's just like a fun tidbit. We finally got there. I saw several silhouettes. I will find a diagram of it to send. I'd been mentally preparing myself for a fierce battle, but the whole place was dead quiet. There were several men dressed like soldiers lying on the ground nearby. In front of them was Suzuha. Kneeling next to her were 2 women. And at their feet... I could tell at a glance, the person lying there was Lukako. I'm sorry, Samus says, I had no choice in this matter. The 2 women looked up at me. Mayuri and Ferris both seemed beaten down by the passage of time. We don't look so bad there. That's like the first reveal of us, and we just look like we're tired, man. We look like we've had a rough week, not like a rough 25 years. His features had grown more gallant, but his face was still soft and feminine. Lukako looked at me with hazy eyes.
Lukako.
But you closed the stream. I did not notice.
Lukako. 俺だ。
その呼び方。本物のオカペス。
I don't get to control that, Samus's. A single trail of blood dripped from Lukako's mouth. His outfit was stained with blood over his right breast, and the blood dripped over onto the ground. I knew immediately that the wound was fatal. I'm sorry, Sam says, I have no choice. You're sending an angry email to the devs.
よかった。さっきの話は嘘じゃなかったんですね。
ああ、お前たちのおかげでこうして目覚めることができた。ありがとう。
Lukako's hand reached up toward the sky, as if he was looking for something. Maybe he couldn't even see me anymore. When I grabbed his hand, it was very cold.
どうした？
僕やりました。
ああ、
京馬さんに教えてもらった精神ザマ流の心へのおかげで今までまゆりちゃんやみんなを守ってこられました。
ああ、
僕仲間になれましたよね。皆さんの本当の仲間になれましたよね。